Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are well, and I hope that you are fighting, because there's a lot to be fighting for. As usual, there'll be a link in the description to the page of my website with a bunch of petitions, donations, emails to send to MPs, etc, etc. Now, in today's video, we're gonna go back to something that I did a while back that I've been meaning to check up on for a while and just haven't. And that is going over the Transformed Wife's Twitter. If you don't know, the Transformed Wife she is a conservative Christian woman who likes to teach women to be godly. And it's terrible, but also very, very amusing. So we're gonna have a look at what she's saying, because it's very hypocritical, a lot of misogyny, it's very misogynistic, and so yeah, we're just gonna have a look at it. We're just gonna see what she's been saying. She tweets a lot, so everything I'm looking at is literally from the past, 2 weeks. She tweets, 6 times a day. It's incredible. And I just wanted to talk about it because there is so much to unpack and talk about here, so that's what we're gonna do. If your husband is saying to others, I need to go out or else I'll be in trouble, meaning he'll be in trouble with you for being late or whatever, you're treating him as a child rather than a husband. He should never feel like he's going to be in trouble with you for silly things. Now, I agree to a certain extent with this, right? You should give your partners liberty and freedom to do what they want. So, you can go out, you can do what you want, you're all adults, just do what you want, but it is still, common courtesy to let your partner know what you're doing and where you're going and when you'll be back, because otherwise you kind of get worried about, where are they? Are they okay? Is everything all right? Common courtesy and the right thing to do to tell your partner where you're gonna be. And if they don't tell you and they just disappear and show up out of the blue and don't tell you where they've been, you're gonna be upset. Obviously you're gonna be upset because you're worried about this person. You don't know where they are, and you're partners, you should know where each other are, or at least know that they're not gonna be there, so you're not worried. At least personally, I have huge anxiety, specifically major separation anxiety. And so if I don't know where someone is when they're usually home, I'm gonna be worried. So it's nice to tell them, you know? But the other question is does this work the other way around? Because I feel it probably doesn't. I feel she thinks that it's totally fine for husbands to get mad at their wives if they don't tell them where they are. And women are allowed to get in trouble with their husbands for silly things. But, surely we shouldn't be treating our wives like children, right? Because I thought a wife's job was to, cook and clean. I thought that was a wife's job. I thought a wife's job was to look after her husband and cook for him and clean for him and do everything for him. That's treating him like a child, is it not? So surely if we're continuing on the lines of looking after him and treating him like a child, we should treat him like a child in terms of knowing where he is at all times. No? Does it only work for some things? Some things you treat your husband like a child, and for others he treats you like a child. I think we should just not treat our partners like children. I think that that's the solution here. Just don't treat your partners like children. Moral of the story, don't treat your partner like children in any way at all. Have communication and mutual understanding and boundaries. Which brings us to the next one, actually, quite nicely. I'm not a huge fan of the boundaries movement. It seems to be another way for wives to manipulate their husbands. Yes, they're needed in destructive marriages, but not in the rest of marriages. And Peter 3:1-2, God doesn't tell wives to set boundaries to win their husbands. This makes me so uncomfortable. Boundaries exist for so many reasons, in so many different circumstances, for so many different things. They are very, very important. They are very, very important. If I feel very uncomfortable by something, the other person should respect that and not do it. A place where that is really important is in the bedroom and things. There are boundaries that really need to be respected, or it can lead to everlasting trauma. In terms of just boundaries and how you're treated and what isn't okay, those are also very important to be respected. Sometimes, yes, they go too far and shouldn't be there. Boundaries you're not allowed to talk to anyone else of the opposite gender. That's not okay. That is controlling. That is manipulative. I agree. That shouldn't be there. But that shouldn't come from either side. You have to have the same moral standpoint from both sides. You can't be women can't have boundaries because that's manipulating their husbands, but husbands are allowed boundaries because women exist to be manipulated. That's not okay. We don't do that. Boundaries are very, very, very important. Sometimes they're not boundaries, they are manipulative and controlling. What is the word? Just like rules that you set. There is a difference though. Boundaries are like, when I do this, please don't do this because it makes me uncomfortable. Boundaries are like, when you do this, it hurts me, so please don't do it. But when it comes to like, you aren't allowed to go out without first asking me my explicit permission and telling me who exactly you're going out with, that's a little bit far. You can go out with who you want, when you want, where you want. You're an adult, as long as you let the other person know. You know, there's a difference. But boundaries are important. And communication and discussing those are very important. Okay? Great. Women are angered if taught to be modest in order to not cause men to lust, as if life is all about them. The way they dress does affect men. This should be taken into consideration. Life isn't all about them, but loving others is enough to do what is right and what God commands. Okay, so women are selfish for dressing immodestly because it makes men feel lust. But it is not selfish of men to assault women because they felt lust. That was the woman's fault for not considering the man's emotions. This is the entire problem. This is rape culture just like summed up with a nice little bow. Victim blaming is not okay. That's not what we're about. Wear what you want. Do what you want with your body. It is not my fault that a man sees me as an object. That is entirely on him. If he views me like that and he has some desire of whatever sort, he can keep that to himself. He doesn't have to act on that. He should learn some self-control and not take advantage of women because he thinks that it's okay. The more we enforce the idea that what you wear is an excuse for how people treat you, the more it teaches those people that it is an excuse to do it. If we stopped victim blaming, if we stopped saying dressing immodestly means you will get assaulted, then people would stop using that as an excuse. Because obviously people get assaulted no matter what they're wearing. Obviously that happens. It literally has nothing to do with it. I genuinely think a large reason why people dressing immodestly are targeted is purely because that gives the perpetrator something to blame. If you're dressed provocatively or immodestly, it means people are more likely to get away with assaulting you. It has nothing to do with how attracted to you they are. It has nothing to do with the way you're dressing makes them feel a particular way. The way you're dressing makes them see an opportunity. It doesn't affect their turned onness in any other way. They're out there looking for someone to assault. They're going to assault someone who is dressed immodestly because they know that it's easier to get away with. And we keep enforcing that idea over and over and over. It starts all the way at school when you're not allowed to go to school, when you're 5 years old, showing your shoulders. It goes to being sent home from school because you're distracting boys because you can see your collarbones or your knees. It is enforced from such a young age to blame women for how they're dressing, and all that does is teach men that how women dress is an excuse to take advantage of them. If we stop teaching that, it'll stop happening. Men feel that desire when they see us looking like that because they're told that that's normal and okay. We have the power to change that. We used to all walk around naked, right? At some point in time, there's still tribes and areas in the world where women are shirtless, where people are mostly naked. And assault doesn't happen because of that. The way they view each other is very normal. It's not body-based. We have made it abnormal to see skin. We decided that was provocative. We decided that was sexual. That is not a thing that is inherently sexual. That is taught to us. We taught that. We learned that. We can unlearn it. You're just continuing this awful fucking cycle of victim blaming and enforcing this awful idea. Anyway, I could talk about that forever. I've talked in circles. I've made videos about it before. Anyway, stop blaming women for men's actions. Women aren't being selfish for dressing however they want to dress. Men are being selfish and awful for taking advantage of women for their own selfish fucking gains. For what? They get like a rush for like 3 minutes and she gets traumatized for the rest of her life. Who's being selfish there? Only reason I wanted to go to college was to find a husband. Sitting in chairs for hours every day to learn stuff I didn't care about, living in a dorm room instead of home, eating in a cafeteria instead of home-cooked food, find a better way to find a husband. This is so funny. This sounds like a you problem, man. Why did you go to college if you didn't care? Why would you waste your time? I would say money, but like back when you went to uni, it probably wasn't that expensive because, you know, the world has changed a lot and now we really, really like to exploit people for their money. Why would you waste all your time in things? If you didn't like it that much, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you drop out? Find a better way to find a husband. Why didn't you then? Why didn't you? Why did you stay? Why did you keep going to classes? Why did you keep doing any of it? You didn't have to. You clearly wanted to be there because otherwise you would not have been there. You could have just skipped all your classes if you really didn't care about it that much. I skipped most of my classes and I enjoyed what I was doing. It's just because I'm mentally ill. But like, come on. Just shut up. Stop lying. Stop. Don't go to college to meet your husband. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So stupid. So funny. So stupid. Would you call someone a faithful member of a church if they rarely or never attended or participated with that church? Of course not. So why would someone be considered faithful to one's spouse if they rarely or never participate in sexual intimacy? If your entire relationship is based off of sex, it's not a very good relationship. If your whole marriage depends solely on you being sexually submissive, that doesn't sound like the best marriage. If that works for you, then fine, I guess. But I want my relationship to have a little bit more than that. I want my relationship to center more around me and my partner, like, loving each other and, like, sharing things in common, sharing interests, and, like, enjoying being in each other's company. Sex is not my number one priority in a relationship. It shouldn't really be anyone's number one priority unless that's like, I mean, it could be. If that's what you want, that's fine. You do you. But like, for a lot of people, that is not the main priority in a relationship. Especially considering you're from like a God-honoring relationship. I didn't think sex would be that important to you. And like, does that mean before marriage? Like, before you were married when you weren't having sex, are you implying that you weren't faithful? You can't be faithful until you're married? That seems very strange. That seems very strange. I don't know why sex is such a big deal to you. I understand sex is like a big deal, but I don't understand why it's such a big deal. You know? I don't know. The chances of staying married for life if you marry your first sexual partner, hopefully it's your husband on your wedding night, goes up to 87%. The chances plummet with the more sexual partners you've had before marriage. God knows what he's talking about. Now, I don't know if this is true. I didn't really care enough to check, if I'm being completely honest. Let's just assume it's true. I want to know how many of those marriages are happy. How many of those marriages are happy marriages? Do they still like genuinely love each other and want to spend time with each other? Or do they constantly make, I hate my wife jokes? I hate my husband. I hate my wife. My wife always nags me. They just stay together because they feel like they have to. They stay together because they're God honoring and they don't see any other option. And they just stay together because that's what you do when you're married. You don't leave. You don't give up, even if it's an absolutely shit, terrible relationship. Because I feel like a lot of those are probably like that. A lot of people stay unhappily married for a really, really long time. Obviously, not all of them. I do know people who save sex till marriage and have been together for many, many, many years and are still happy. It does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't. But there is also a phenomenally large number of people who are unhappy in their marriages and stay purely because they feel like they have to stay because they're married and that's what you do. I think it is much better to get divorced and then go on and be happy again than to stay with someone and be miserable. Relationships don't have to last forever in order to be successful. They can be really, really important for the time that they exist. And then sometimes there's just a time where they should end and they just feel like they should end. And that's an important part of your life and your journey. And it helps you get to where you feel like you need to be, and they can help you grow as a person. But just because they end doesn't mean they weren't worth it. Splitting up, getting divorced, it's not the end of the world. It's like totally fine. Obviously it hurts and it's awful, but like there are worse things. And I think staying in a loveless marriage where you aren't happy is so much worse than leaving and trying to find yourself again. Privilege has nothing to do with the color of one's skin. The privileged in life are those who have a mother and father who love each other, a mother who is at home full-time, and a father who provides. If the family loves Jesus, they are extremely blessed. This is the whitest thing I've ever read. This is the most privileged thing I've ever seen. This is the reason. Like, you're proving the points, man. You are so privileged that you refuse to acknowledge that anyone else struggles in any way. You see any person talking about any struggle they have and you're like, Jesus, that's not how anything works. If that's how it worked, if God or whatever could save everyone from being in pain, then surely Christians who are living in poverty would no longer live in poverty. Surely all these people who believe in God and follow the Bible wouldn't be struggling to the degree that they are. All the people of color who are Christian, who are discriminated against, surely they wouldn't be discriminated against if all it took was loving Jesus. You are living in the majority in your country. You are not oppressed in any way. Stop acting like you understand what oppression is. You don't care about anyone other than yourself. Your whole thing is promoting selflessness. Women should be selfless, and you are so selfish. Okay, I have gone on many tangents here. This has made me very angry. I'm gonna go try to cool down. I need to take a breather. So I'm gonna go do that. A massive thank you to my Kiwi Fruit and Kiwi Bird channel members whose names are up on the screen right now. And a massive thank you to my channel member of the day, Nicole. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a channel member, you can click the top link in the description or the little blue join button. You get my videos a day early, as well as 10% off my shop when I have things on my shop. And as a Kiwi Bird member, you sometimes get little extra videos that don't make it into the main video. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you got angry with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more of this. Follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. And when you close your eyes